So there's three levels of wealth, right? Or three levels of way people generate income. I really value, the journey of growth. Now you should be more organized with time, because if you can't manage time in life, you're never going to be able to manage money.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Cody Cottle Show. Today, I am joined by entrepreneur, investor, trader, CEO of the DCG Mastermind, Jamar James. Welcome to the Cody Cottle Show.
Man, I'm so happy to be here. It is good to be here in person, seeing you down in San Diego. I love it.
Let's go. It's crazy, guys. When I launched my first business a while ago, Motivation Everything, I did a show like this, but it wasn't a traditional podcast. And I was a part of this group, the $1 Billion Brotherhood on Facebook. Jamar was in this, how we got connected. And I think you were my first guest on that show.
Yeah, man. It was, you were fresh, but it was, what I believe is in social currency, and we're in the same brotherhood. And that's what we're here for, to help each other out and, support one another.
Yeah, it's crazy. He pulls up today. He's like, you come a long way. And I was thinking about that because back then it was, we streamed to YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So it was just a social media show. It's still available. Our interview is still up, and I could show you it. It's pretty awesome. You guys can go find it on the YouTube channel. But just honored, man, to see what you've done in your life and just your values. We align so much. So just thank you so much for being here.
Oh yeah, man. It's a pleasure, and it's an honor to be here as well, because, we both have the same vision of changing people's lives and giving as much as we can. So that alignment is right on point.
Divine alignment for your assignment. Let's shake things up a little bit. Right. Let's get Jamar uncomfortable. Y'all cool with that?
Man, I don't get nervous often, but go ahead.
Let's go. I'm gonna hit you with an icebreaker. And do you believe money can't buy happiness? Why or why not?
Nah, I definitely believe money can buy happiness. I mean, it can. I've been broke before, and I've had money, and I've rather deal with problems when I have resources. Life is also great. There's a lot of things in life that we take for granted that don't require money, but money is a tool, and it is a resource. And if you have good in your heart and you have situations that you need to deal with, money definitely is a resource that can, elevate some of the situations and make things better.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the truth, right? That is the truth. Money does help.
Yeah, that's true. And anybody that told you that money can't help you as a resource when it comes to happiness and doing great things, they've never gone without it, right? Like if you've ever been in that situation, it definitely makes a difference. And this is that's why I thought it was perfect for like asking you, because I know what you do and what we're about to talk about. And I'm like, let's see what he says in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be truthful this whole time.
Yeah. Hey, that's one thing you guys are going to get. Raw, real, vulnerable. I hope that's cool with you. I was telling Jamar, my one rule is we have no rules.
And that's alignment with my anarchist views.
Let's go. Chaos theory. So let's get into it. One deep question that I like to ask every guest when they come on the show is, what do you value most in life?
Man, I mean, I really value free will, but I value, it can't be one thing. I mean, family is important. Your legacy is important. Your reputation is important. Being able to contribute to society. I don't think we were put here to just be here for ourselves. I believe our visions and our goals should be so big they impact other people. I really value, the journey of growth, right? To me, I've been through situations. I grew up in Oakland, inner city. I've seen so much negativity, but and I also went to the Marine Corps, and we have a thing called PTSD in the Marines, post-traumatic stress disorder. And from my experience, I think life is about PTG, post-traumatic growth. Like, how do you grow from negative experiences to make you a better person and live better and experience this life with a better quality of life?
Post-traumatic growth. I like that.
PTG,
that's good.
Baby.
PTG, baby. Let's go. Yeah, that's amazing. And as we were talking before this show, and thank you for sharing that. I love when you said your dreams and your goals have to be so big that they impact other people. I think that was just so powerful and a good point to point out. We were talking before here in the lounge area before the show, and we were talking about, independence isn't overnight. Tell us what you mean by that.
My whole thing with trading, right, is just it's a mentality and it's a lifestyle. And a lot of times, what I believe, and here's the truth and the real. I believe slaves get traded, free people get to trade. And so at any moment we can make a trade in our life, but the process is, people think it happens overnight, and a lot of times you have to break free, right? Even in America, we have a kind of a chain of operation of go to school, go to college, get a good job, become successful and work. And it's like, well, how do you break free from a box? How do you find, outside of your box to live a way that you would like to live?
Yeah.
And so independence, and freedom is sometimes breaking out of other people's idea of how you should live. How do you figure out what is your life going to mean to you being optimized? Like, how is your life, even wealth, like that should be redefined. A lot of times people think wealth is just making financial income. And to me, wealth is a entire lifestyle. You think wealthy, you live wealthy, you have time freedom. It's not just money.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And in your own journey, right? You mentioned you were born in Oakland. You probably came up and you have your own journey you had to go through of adversity. And you went into the Marines. Tell us a little more of just the backstory of Jamar James and like how you got where you're at and how you've come across the mindset you have now on the way that you see independence, on the way that you see wealth, because you probably didn't always have this mindset. What had to happen to get you here?
Well, I look back at some of the happiest times of my life, and it wasn't when I had money. It was when I had my grandfather, my grandmother. We lived on the same street. It's like it was a community.
Yeah.
And then growing up in Oakland, we didn't really have gangs, but we had communities. We had places where we lived and schools, and we had a lot of pride in where we were from. And as you grow older, you kind of grow out of the environment. But then in joining the Marine Corps, there was a lot of pride in being a Marine. It's a lot of pride in going to a certain college. Humans, we look at some of the best times of our life, and it's with other people, right? And whether you have a lot of money or little money, it is your environment that you start to realize, like, hey, what are some of the highlights of my life? And you look at people, right? Going camping with the family, having family camping trips, having a family reunion, finding out where you're from. Some of those were some of the highlights that you have in your life. For me, growing up in the Bay Area, it showed me more about the community, pride. And so that was a stepping stone. And then it's like, well, how do you help? How do you give back? My mom, she was a post person. My dad was a trucker. Like, we didn't spend a lot of time with the most people that we love because of resources.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't have the money to be available 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day to be with the family. So then you end up having distant family or relatives or other people that you depend on just because they're in the community, and you still have a good experience.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if we had more resources, right? If there was more money available or more time, right, to grow together, then those are things that you can't replace. We can't replace the time.
Would you define that as independence?
As far as having time?
Yes. Yeah, the fine, because if they had more resources, if they
Right.
had more time, they could have been more present with the family.
You'll be more present doing the things you want to do, right? Because if you look at people and I says, hey man, if I gave you $100 million right now and you can do whatever you want, most people wouldn't say they'll stop working. They'll just do the work they want to do.
Yeah.
Right? They'll be like, oh, now I can go build communities, or I can help this amount of people, or I can create other jobs for other people. They wouldn't stop working. They would just do things they want to do. And I think a lot of us want to spend more time with our kids. We want to spend, people say they want to travel the world, but why don't they? They're either lacking resources or they're lacking time. Right? And so to help guys get more independence, it's like, well, one of my causes is that the reason why I teach people how to trade is like, you can make a certain amount of money in a short amount of time where now it frees up the rest of your day. Yeah. Right? And freeing up the rest of your day, then what would you do? Right?
That's so good. And it's getting to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, right? And one of the vehicles that you do is you're a trader, you're an entrepreneur, you're an investor. So let's talk about that. Right. So somebody right now, they're in a situation in their life, they don't have freedom. They're working a job they don't really enjoy. They're not fully present with the people that they care the most about. Right. What advice would you give them? And what vehicles do you see that everyone has access to that they can start leveraging now?
Right. If you're living a life that you want to optimize, I tell people they can't manage their money until you can manage your time. So right now, a lot of people are busy being busy. They have jobs, they have other responsibilities, they have to be there. So this extra time that you have to put it to work for you. And that's what you can leverage. Because, I know millionaires and I know guys that have billions, and what they don't want to do is spend time on something. They rather, so there's 3 levels of wealth, right? Or 3 levels of way people generate income. One is self-employment, right? So it doesn't matter that you're a doctor and you work at McDonald's. The efforts that you put in is all required from your efforts.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm doing an 8-hour job and you're an 8-hour, doctor, it's still, you're getting paid based on your efforts. One is getting paid more as a doctor than a fast food worker, but it's still the same 8 hours.
Yeah.
Then when you become a business owner, which is kind of like the level 2, right? The level 2 is a business owner. He makes money off of other people's, resources.
Leveraging
right?
their time.
Leveraging their
gifts,
time, having employees. So, coming from Oakland, I can say, hey, a business owner and a pimp, they both need people, right? And so you're leveraging people. So that's the human resource you're leveraging. But then when you want to look at wealth, you're leveraging the money, and now the money is working for you, right? And so now you don't need the overhead of an office, or you don't need the overhead of, people, right? Your wealth is being generated with the money that you have. And then now you have more time because now your money is working for you. You're taking a chance, but your money is working for you. So I want to get, even the guy that doesn't have, if you're making $5,000 a month and you can live off of $3,000, that $2,000, how is that going to make you money? And I tell people, well, before you risk it, learn a skill or learn how you can invest that money, whether it's in your own personal knowledge, other businesses, so it can start working for you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so good. It's what the wealthy do, right?
That's what the wealthy do.
And
right?
and they have the luxury of the time freedom because the money's working for them.
Right.
It's creating cash flow into their life, which is opening up more freedom, more independence in their life.
So think about this though. When you have that time freedom, another thing that wealthy can do is they can build relationships. When people are, poor or barely struggling or being busy, how many new people they get to meet, right? They're limited to their environment of who they can meet.
Their social currency is low.
Their social currency is low. So when I created a mastermind, it is about bringing people into a new environment where they're around other traders that people are making money. It's all walks of life, but now they have time to meet other people. Because in my environment, my mom was a mill, a postal worker. So who's her environment going to be? Other postal workers.
Yeah.
She's spending the majority of her time with other postal workers, and they're all working, right? So she didn't have time to go to a mastermind. A lot of people don't have time to come here in person in San Diego to sit here with you and do a podcast.
Midday on a Friday.
Midday, right? And so when you have more wealth, you have more time, and imagine that you have more opportunity based on your social currency.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, a lot of people, so there's someone listening to this right now. They're like, okay, Jamar, I hear you.
Right.
But I still got to work my job. I still got to pay my bills. I don't feel like I have any extra.
Right.
What do you tell that person?
You have to get out of your box because that's a limitation that you put yourself in, right? You still have 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Who are you associated with at that time? Are you tired and you're just going to sleep? Everything, there's answers in books, right? And how much are you reading?
Yeah.
Right? How much are you getting new ideas? How creative are you being? So you have to sacrifice some of that time. And that's where we say that, it's not overnight. If you want to get out of that box, you have to put yourself in another box and you have to spend the extra time, the time that you're not busy being busy, getting outside that box. And that's, the whole point of, I say, social currency also leads to new wealth.
That's good. That's real good. I hope you guys are really getting this right now too. Because I think about my journey, right? We always know our own journeys the most. Right. And even this podcast, to who's listening to this, who's watching this right now, like it's an investment in you. You're taking your time. You're choosing to do this. Maybe you're optimizing a drive to work and listening to it. Right. But they're learning new wisdom and knowledge. And I remember back when, I've lived on my own since I was 16. Dad's been in prison my whole life, raised by a single mom, my own adversity, right? And I knew I didn't want to stay in that box.
Right.
I looked to my left, I looked to my right. I was like, man, I don't want to go where these guys are going.
Right.
And the only thing that I could do at the time to get out of my box was to find the cheaper free resources and get mentorship from people through podcasts. Right. So like my mentors didn't even know me, but yet they were my mentors, The books I read, I remember Think and Grow Rich, that's such a classic, but Napoleon Hill changed my life.
Changed my life as well.
He was like, think about how many people Napoleon Hill has mentored that have never met him.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage you guys watching this mentorship. The high level of doing that is get in the room, because the best things are caught, not taught. They're getting into a mastermind like DCG. They're getting in proximity to guys like you. But if you can't do that yet, read the books, listen to the podcast, watch the YouTube channel, absorb the information, join the free Facebook group, whatever, because you're going to start catching some of what those people are doing.
I mean, I built my whole entire mastermind business off of Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich, the mastermind principle, right?
So good.
You know, this is before, you know, all the trading groups are on either YouTube, giving signals. There was no, when I started, it was no trading mastermind. There wasn't a place where 20 traders would get in a room and trade live together. So, you know, for me, I took that principle of, you know, being in the Marines, you're around other Marines.
Yeah.
We don't go read manuals, and we don't, you know, we have manuals, but really everything is hands-on.
Yeah. So
for me, how I like to teach trading is hands-on. Like, if you want to be a trader, be around other traders. If you want to be wealthy, be around other guys that have wealth. You know, if you go to jail, you're going to have jailhouse lawyers, and they're going to tell you how to get out of jail, but they're in jail. It doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to learn from a person who's already free.
Yeah, right.
Right? So for me, it's creating an environment where, from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is the mastermind principle, is you have to get around those guys, because there's intangibles. Someone can teach you a course, but you're reading and things are left up to the imagination. But when you're in person and you can see that, hey, this is how he really lives. This is how he takes care of his family while he's straight, and have a 5-year-old comes in the office. How do you handle that situation? Because in a course, it is in a box, right? Hey, you know, if you see this pattern, take this trade, you'll make this amount of money. Every now and then you'll lose some. But then it's like, well, how do you trade when you're having a family dispute, or someone wants to go to Disneyland and you want to stay home? It's like, now you have an emotional attachment that's outside that course. How do you deal with that? That's where the social currency comes in play. Is that now you have someone to interact with that says, hey, how did you get through this experience?
Yeah, that's so good, right? Because the books and the podcast, YouTube channel, it can only get you so far.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like you said, you want to be a trader, get around traders. You want to be wealthy, get around wealthy.
Right.
And it's like, so what advice would you give? Like, what's just some practical tips you would give to people to get around the right people?
I mean, one, you know, Instagram, social media, you know, these podcasts, they're great. But there's a different energy when you're in person.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a different level of confidence and clarity you get when you get to meet a person, shake their hand, and says, hey, I've seen, you know, with my eyes how he interacts with his family. I seen him actually take the trade and make $10,000 in an hour. Like, there's a different level of, you know, comfort from humans giving each other, you know, the 4-minute mile, right? Until someone actually ran it, then they gave everyone else the opportunity to break it.
Yeah.
But when they didn't, you know, a 4-minute mile, no, it's impossible. Everybody thought it was impossible. First person that broke it, and they realized he's just like me. He's human. You know, he's a regular person that I can duplicate that success.
That's so good. And I'm so glad the conversation went to this point, because a long time ago, like, you know, growing up, all the guys that were super successful, like, that had the lives I wanted to have, there was almost this wonder of, like, are they just touched by God? Are they better than me, smarter than me, better looking than me? Like, all these things, I'm like, they're just, you know, almost like they're lucky. I can never be on that level. And I think that very influential, successful people, often they get the part of everyone wants to be like me, right? In the fruit that they're having, but they miss the component of authenticity of they're just like us.
It's like us.
And it was when I started getting around people I looked up to, you know, millionaire, right? At one time, even like everybody threw around the word growing up. I grew up super poor. One day I'm gonna be a millionaire, this and that, but I know no millionaire. I know anybody that made $1 million, right? Then finally, I got to the point where I'm in rooms with guys that, you know, make $millions. They got millions in their bank account, and it's pretty common in my life right now. And the one thing I learned when I got into the room with those guys, I'm like, oh, you're just like me, bro. You struggle with the same stuff. You get anxiety, depression, stress, same issues. Like, everything I go through in my life, you go through too. There is the difference is you figured out who you were already, and you know, age can be a factor in this, but you figured out who you were before me, and you've been sticking with something long enough to see fruit in it.
Right. And I mean, think about what a coach is.
Yeah.
people call me, hey, your coach. It's like, it's just a person that's one step ahead of you.
Yeah.
Right? They just did it first.
Dude, I got, when I was trying to like become a coach like years ago, this is around when we met too, I had such an insecurity about that. I'm like, I ain't a guru. Who am I to call myself a coach? And my coach sat me down. He said, listen, you don't got to be a guru. Right. But what you do need to do is you need to have gone from point A to point B.
Right.
And show somebody how to get from point A to point B.
Right. I mean, you look at all your teachers. They're teaching you, and we hold them up to a high level of respect because they've went to college and got the master's. But then, you grow up and it's like, hey, well, I actually got more experience now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, they're great teachers, and they gave you the confidence to go forward.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that we all have that ability to go forward and surpass because we're all unique, like you said. And someone has made money or had a level of success, they inspire others to follow along.
Yeah.
So there's not, there's a level of progress that people have to go through. And when we talk about independence, there's a process that you have to go through to get independence, and you have to see the different stages. And, a lot of people, they get tricked into thinking that they're going to just go out there and sprint before they take baby steps, before they crawl. And then they start walking, then they start balancing, then they start running. Like, there's a process to success, and that's, one of the things that we're passionate about is like, when someone meets me, oh, he's successful now. And in their mind, it's overnight.
Yeah.
But the independence that it's taken me, I had to break out of different boxes throughout your life. And I've just done it first.
Hey, the guy that broke the 4-minute mile, one time he was crawling on the floor.
He was crawling on the floor.
Yeah.
Like everyone else.
That's crazy, man. That's amazing. So what, let's get into, you're brilliant, Jamar, at trading. You're brilliant at creating wealth. You've designed your life in a way that many would aspire to design their life. You're able to come down here at this time of day. And what I love about you, and I just want to honor you for a minute, is how much you honor and value your time, your family, and what means a lot to you.
Right.
And I've had a lot of people in my life, and even in that chair that are amazing people, right? But there's such an emphasis on just more success and more money. But you've designed it in a way where you're like, no, I'm gonna create wealth so I can spend time with my family, my daughter, my wife, and it's cool. But a lot of people aren't there yet. So why don't you give us some practical tips on how to create more independence in our life, how to create more wealth? And I definitely want to go in the direction of talking about trading because you're an expert in that.
Right. Well, you might have to rewind, but I want to go over something you just said. A lot of the things I've been through, right? Post-traumatic growth. So me, growing up and not having my dad around because he was a trucker, he was working, he was out, not having him there, a lot of pain was there because you didn't have, father figure or your mother wasn't there. So one of the missions is like determining what your mission is going to be is like, for me, it's like I always wanted to be a better parent. I wanted to be better. I wanted to have more time than my mom. I wanted to be there for my kids. I was like, hey, if I was a parent, I wouldn't be like my dad. Yeah. Some people want to be like their dad. I wanted to be better, right? And not because he was a bad guy or anything like that. It was just a lot of pain. So post-traumatic growth, like how do you grow from the things that have hurt you in your past to become better? Like, and no one in my family, everyone in my family, hey, I can get you a job at the post office. I can get you a job as a longshoreman. Yeah. I can get you, they all blue-collar workers. And I was like, I went to school in San Francisco and I seen these guys in the financial district. Why no one is telling me, like, these guys are high-fiving on the BART early in the morning. My mom is waking up at 4 o'clock. These guys are done working by 7 or 8. Like, coming home, like, they traded an hour or two and they're done or they're in that environment. It's like, why didn't I have exposure to that? So my goal was like, once I grow up, I want to do more and be more. And so that was a main driver. And that is for people that go through traumatic single mom, a kid with a single mom. You see how hard your mom worked and, you wanted to help. Yeah. Right? You had a desire.
Entrepreneurship came out at 13 years old, starting a business because I knew my mom needed money.
Right. And so, I mean, that desire there kind of sets your life up for something bigger. Yeah. Right. And so it came out of a negative place, maybe. Yeah. Right. Some kind of pain, some kind of hurt. You turn that into a positive. Right. And so all the pain that I went through or experienced or seen, it's like that could be a mission. Right now, it's like, hey, is it really about money? Because all the great times I had wasn't because I went to a trip to France or had money to go buy a Lambo. It was, I had family.
Yeah.
You know, we had family dinners and we had, you know, camping trips, and those are the good memories based on the childhood, right? So, you know, now I can say we can go forward with the other questions.
No, that's good, man. Like, I think the important like pause point on what you just said is like, what's your mission?
What's your mission?
So I would really like encourage the audience, guys, like, what's your mission? You know, for you knew you wanted to be a better dad than your dad was. You knew you want to be a better parent, more present, have that. And I think it's so important, right? Because we got to have reasons.
Right. So the mission for me was to bring people together, because that was the best time that I had, but also give them financial wealth so they can do the things that they really enjoyed, and they can bring families together. Because, you know, some people have a cause to save the entire world. I was like, if I can save families, if I can give the family more resources, they would have a better quality of life, and kids will be less dysfunctional. They will be able to cope. And so even for my kids, it's like, it's not to have a great kid. It's to create a happy adult that is functioning in the world, that is mentally healthy.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are depressed and the comparison and, you know, wishing they had this and wishing they had that they're not grateful for just being able to live their purpose. And some kids don't have the opportunity to follow a passion. They're just in survival mode all the time. Most adults, they get into 80% of adults get into survival mode. And they become busy being busy, and then it's like, hey, you know what? They just give up. I'm content with life. You know, I have a good job. I have food. I have, you know, just the basics, but they never get to live their true, authentic freedom.
Yeah. And it's almost like they get beat down for so long, they just settle for that quality of life.
Right. I mean, I see it with traders. They've been through so many different programs where they lose. Then they say, you know what? Nobody ever wins. It's never going to happen for me. I'm just done with that. I'm going to go back to my job, and I'm just going to, you know, just get my paycheck every 2 weeks, and I don't have to deal with the stress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So in the DCG mastermind, you know, what are you teaching people to create that freedom?
So, you know, for me, Jamar James, for me personally, it is to redefine what wealth is.
Okay.
Right. You know, of course, I'm a trader. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to invest in different things. I love money. Right. But I'm also in the business of wealth overall.
Yeah.
Right. And wealth, I mean, like recently I lost 60 pounds. Right. And
Let's go. You look good.
Yeah. I mean, you know, but it was more of it should impact my kids. It should impact my family, because we grew up thinking that, hey, we're just big people.
Right.
And we're not really big people. It's that we didn't have the information that, you know, there's micronutrients, there's inflammation in your body. You carry stress around.
Yeah.
Right. And that impacts your weight. Like, some people are big because they're stressed the hell out. Right. They stressed. And so inside the mastermind, my goal is to give people a balanced life, a realistic, manage expectations. People think that success just comes in trading because you're in this group and you see a guy and you get lucky on a trade one time. Yeah. How do you have consistency and clarity? Whatever you do should change your life, right? And that's what we were talking about earlier before we got on. It's like, if you do something, it should change your life. So coming into a mastermind, for me, it is, you should get inspired, right? And you should have better time management. You should have better health. You should have more motivation. You should be inspired to make more money, right? Money is good. And a lot of people, they'll have low expectations. Oh, if I could just make $100 or $1,000 a day, I would be happy. And it's like, well, why? What are you going to do with that? How is it going to make your life better, right? And then even just the attempt to trade, now you should be more organized with time. Because if you can't manage time in life, you're never going to be able to manage money.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, a lot of us is doing it for time. So if you had more time, what would you do? Right? And then it's like, all right, now inside the mastermind, you have a mission. And all these guys are here to help you accomplish your mission. So that is really the drive in my mastermind. Yeah, it's to teach people how to trade. I had the strategies. Yeah. The market goes up or down. Let me say this. It's 50%. If you don't know nothing about trading, you can get lucky. 50% is either going up or down at any moment of the day. Now, if you can get the timing right and you can track volume, the chances of you making money goes a lot higher. But what happens to most people is what's in between their brain. The emotions. Oh, I can't lose this money. And it went down for a minute. Yeah, it's going to go down and it's going to go up all day. And then they take little losses and they die by 1,000 cuts because they don't have the right mindset.
That's so good, man. There was a lot of gold there, and just how you define wealth in general, and,
Right.
and just the mindset and the environment of getting around people that inspire you and motivate you to do that and to get your time back and your wealth. I love that. And, you know, I know there's people listening right now like, Jamar, give us a couple more tips on how we make some money, man.
Right.
How do we make more money, bro?
If you just want money, you can go hit a bank, right? And you can take a chance there. But if you want sustained wealth, right, it's consistency. It is getting into the mastermind, or getting into a mastermind. It doesn't have to be mine. It is what is your passion? You have to be passionate about something in life.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have to have that as a flag that, hey, I can't fail because XYZ. This is what's dependent on it. It was times I was tired. I didn't want to work out, but I was like, hey, I have to lose weight because my kids are watching me. Right. Or I need to take care of my family. I don't want my wife to work. I don't want my kids to want. So I have to figure this out. I have to trade, and, you know, I'm risking our livelihood because I'm risking money that, you know, it could save other people, but this is legacy. So it was really taking the time, saying that, hey, no matter what, I told my subconscious that I'm going to make it, and I'm going to learn it, and I'm not going to give up until I do it. So it was a resiliency there, emotional awareness of, like, we're not failing, right? So I'm going to get around the right people, and they're going to tell me what to do, and I'm not going to give it one chance. I'm going to give it 6 months. I'm going to give it a year, right? I'm going to take chances, right? The first coach I had, he wanted 50% of everything I had. He's like, no, if I work with you, like, we're working together for the entire year, and there's a complete program. We're going to go to dinner together. We're going to work out together. I'm going to train you, but I want 50% of everything comes in your bank account. And he's like, because it's going to change your life.
Did you do it?
I did it.
Change your life?
That was the first year I made $1 million.
Let's go.
Right? And he took 500.
Hey, so but you still made 500,000.
Right. It was the most I ever paid for coaching. But I wouldn't have had that confidence. Now I have a confidence that I say, hey, let's renegotiate. It was too much. He was like, no, you have it now. It's yours. Like, you know, I know you're not going to, why give someone 50% when now you own it? Now it's yours.
I think there's such a valuable lesson in what you just shared with us. You knew you needed to get in proximity to this coach, let's use for example. He obviously had fruit.
Fruit.
Like he was obviously successful in this, and you knew just by getting around him that you were going to catch it, that it was going to rub off on you, that you were going to learn that, right?
So things are contagious. Good health is contagious. Yeah. Wealth is contagious. COVID was contagious, right? If the proximity. Yeah. For him, he told me that, you know, I already have money. What I'm doing is giving you my time, and my time is more valuable than anything else I have. I already have wealth. I have a family. You know, I'm giving my time to you, and that's worth more to me because we didn't want to work together. How we end up coming together is that I was new, and I was actually door knocking in Arizona, and he was buying all the properties in this area, and I was able to door knock, right? I got like 2 properties under contract that he was going after, and they were pre-foreclosures. And he was like, how's this guy beat me? He wanted to meet with me. He's like, bro, like, I'll pay. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, because of who I am, I had something that he didn't have. I had me. Right? And so he looked at it as like, well, if we partner, now I have what he has. Yeah. And I was like, well, I don't want to partner. I want to know everything you know. And that was a defining moment. He said no at first. He was like, no, I'll pay you. He wanted a transaction. I said, I want to know everything you know. And what he didn't have that I had was me. Like, I could go in places and neighborhoods he can go into and make relationships. Yeah. Right? And that's because of who I was. Wow. And he couldn't do that. And he didn't have anyone that could do that. So, you know, he had 50 properties, but I had 4 he wanted. And he couldn't get because I already had him under contract.
Wow. I love how you leverage that too, guys. You have to find your leverage. But what I think so cool is that, you know, you paid $500,000, say, for that relationship, right? But it changed your life forever.
I said the best friends I ever had, I had to pay for. Right? The best friends I've ever had in business, I had to pay for.
Yeah, same. And I think that like you had talked earlier, just how we're conditioned, you know, go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job. Like, we're almost conditioned from birth to fit inside of this box, this construct that they've created for us. And because of that, we adopt blueprints in our mind that develop belief systems that control the way that we think and our thought life and our habits and our actions.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of individuals that are stuck in the box.
Right.
They see your box, they hear you, they want to live in independence,
Right.
but they've been conditioned to live in this box for so long.
Right.
And even in that situation, a lot of people would think they were saying the right answer by saying no. What do you mean you're going to get 50% of everything I make? Absolutely not.
Right.
But you saw something different. How does somebody get out of that box, that way of thinking?
I mean, you had to have a level of desperation of like, hey, I have to do something different.
Yeah.
The stuff I'm doing right now is not working, and I have to take chances, or I'm going to waste my entire time in life. And it's like, you're going to fail. And that's why I tell guys that come in the training environment. You don't get in a boxing ring, you don't get in the training environment and think you're never going to take a loss.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to take a loss. And you have to be willing to say, hey, that loss is a PTG moment, a post-traumatic growth moment, right? Any loss that you have to grow from. But if you get scared to take a loss, you're never gonna get out that box.
Yeah.
That box is there for your comfort and your safety. And the only way that you get out of that box is willing to take losses that you can grow from. So I know that, hey, this 12 months, he gets to have. But what do I gain, right? And it was like, well, I gain the knowledge.
And that you can't put a price on that.
Can't put a price on it.
You're using that knowledge today.
It's till this day.
Yeah.
One of the lessons we had is that I would go into neighborhoods and I could go to certain neighborhoods. He was like, you should be able to knock on anyone's door and not become a stranger. Yeah. It's like, the goal is not to sell them anything, but to just be personal enough where they invite you in for lemonade. How many times, how hard that'd be for us to walk down the street, knock on someone's house, and start a conversation and have them invite us in for lemonade? Like, how difficult is that? And you don't want anything. They're going to think that, hey, one, you're crazy. Two, what are you selling, right?
Yeah.
If someone came to your door, what are you
I
selling?
did door to door. I was for AT&T.
Okay, so,
yeah,
and that is, a concept that we would just do that. And they were like, well, what would you say? What do you do? How I got into their house is I told them the truth. I'm here with a mentor. He wants to know if you're going to invite me in for lemonade and if I can make relationships with people I never met before. And when I told them the truth, they let me in the house.
Wow.
And that was the moment of, if you want someone to trust you, you got to be truthful with them.
Because people can tell on that. We have an internal intuition, right?
Yeah,
like you can smell BS on people, and it's all
Intuitive Intelligence by Sonia Crochet is a book that I'm reading, and it's intuitive intelligence.
Yeah.
Right. You know when a person is real, and you know when they're full of shit.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's and something in your mind will tell you to know, like, I want to, because humans want to trust people. Right? They want to trust people.
Yeah.
But you'll have an intuition sometimes tell you, nah, I don't believe that. Or, no, I believe, I got a good feeling about that deal, that person. And just listen to your gut. But when you're genuine and you walk to someone and say, hey, I really want to help you, they will feel it.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
So that obviously helped you earlier on in your career, right? When you value social currency, building relationships, You've seen the fruit of that. And I call it relational equity, right? And the more relational equity that I build in, and not even viewing it through transactional, right? Like not even saying that, but I know the more equity that I build with you, Jamar, right? I don't know if I'll ever get anything from it, but I know the value of constantly making deposits into relationships and how those relationships completely impact and change our lives. And it can come out of the least expected time. Right. And the door opens from the one person that you met, that you took the time to be nice to, that say, hey, I want to introduce you to so-and-so. Right. Boom, life-changing moment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a universal law of exchange, right?
Yeah.
And as you give, you don't have to expect anything back. But eventually, right, you're giving out this energy, and that energy is attracted to you. The same thing with money. When you give money, you open yourself up to receive it.
That's why we tithe.
Right. That's why you tithe, right? It's not people, I don't want to give to this and that. It's like you're holding on so tight that it means so much to you that your fists are closed, right? And once you open it up and say, hey, you know what? It doesn't mean as much as everyone else. I want to let it flow. Then all of a sudden, it comes in as well. That door is open for money to go in and out.
Yeah, I have a saying with one of my good buddies, and it's when we give without expectation of return, it creates a guaranteed return every single time.
Right.
It's good.
And, for me, it's been the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Some people, I'm not for everyone. You know, some people I turn off and they're like, he cusses, he does this, but it's real.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I attract the real people. And so like guys come in, they want to learn how to trade. Hey, I'm going to teach you how to trade. You're going to make money, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to be just X, Y, Z. You have things in your head that I don't know yet. You know, I don't know if you show up on time. I don't know if you stay asleep. I don't know if you lazy. I don't know if you are greedy. Like there's other things I have to figure out before I know that it's going to work out for you.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, well, no, like I heard you can help guys. It's like each person is unique.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
I think, you know, one of the things I want to hit on before we wrap up here is that independence is not overnight. It's that long game, that not overnight. We live in a world right now, especially with these, where we're conditioned on get rich quick, get results now, get success now. You're a guy who, you know, born in Oakland, went into the Marines, and now you're a full-time entrepreneur, investor, trader. You've created financial security for you and your family. You mentor and coach in a mastermind, many other guys to do this same thing. But there's still people out there that see your success and feel that it came overnight, right? We talked about that earlier. What can you speak to the listener about not trying to have overnight success, but developing the long game?
Right. We talked about it before we started. It's like the long game is having a story, right? You know, when you have a story, that means you've built up wisdom and experience.
Yeah.
And it's like a person that tries to come in at 20 to be a financial advisor. It's like, how much has he really learned and experienced as a financial advisor at that point? He may have had a good 2-year run, but you know, to see the long game, you have to see long term. So even my wealth, you know, here physically having money is such a small part of what I want my legacy to be, right? My kids, they're going to live different and they're going to change future generations. The people around you in your mastermind is going to change future generations. So my wealth is not tied to a short-term gain. It is a long term of freedom and independence where even the people in my social network or social circle, they should benefit from your reputation. They should benefit from knowing you, right? And just the inspiration that you can provide. So, you know, independence is, you may think you're free to walk out of a door, but there's energy that's attracted to you, right? And that's freedom, is when you can actually say, hey, you know what? All opportunities I'm getting is not the ones I want, but it doesn't fit my mission, right? And so that's another part of independence for the long term. It is like, what is going to set you free, right? How do you live so if I'm so tied to a financial number, I'm still trapped, right? Because this financial number has my number. It has me chasing it, right? And now when I'm content with like, hey, I'm living a good life, it's balanced, I have good relationships, I have, you know, income, I have something I love doing, I love trading, I love investing with partners, right? It's not more of I need a different type of business. It's like I need the right partners. Right, I need the right currency on earth, right? And I feel well waking up and I go to sleep, you know, with a calm, like, you know, this is a great life.
Yeah, that's so good, man. Come on. I love that. And I think for many people, it's first defining it. I think you've hit on that so well throughout this whole podcast, is we're always chasing the rabbit. And it's so funny that we think that the rabbit is freedom and independence, but it's the very thing that's often taking that from us, you know, because you're always chasing. And, you know, I want to make this much money, and then I make that much money. I'm like, oh, I need to make more money. And then I make more money. And it's like this constant, never ending. There's not independence and freedom in that. Right. That thing is controlling me.
And so are we doing what we want to do? Like, you know, when you invited me to the podcast, like, you know, this is probably the first time in a year I've traveled somewhere to go on a podcast, and it wasn't anything to get, you know, anything to gain besides, hey, I like Cody, and I've seen his growth, and I want to be a part of that. Yeah. Like, you know, that's it. And that is something that we had the freedom to do. Yeah. Where there's nothing tied to it. This is what I want to do. Right. And the same thing is like, you know, what do we want to do in life and what makes us feel good? Right. Whether you get compensated for it or not, did you enjoy it? Yeah. That's such a good measure, right? You know that you're at that point in your life when you're saying yes to the things you want to say yes to, and no to the things you want to say no to, and that's freedom. That's freedom, and that's a hard one. A lot of people say yes because they feel like they can't say no. Right.
because of the opportunity cost.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's so good. You know, Jamar, as we wrap up the podcast, I got a couple more things here. Number one is, what's next for you? You know, we've just entered 2023. You've done a lot of cool things. You know, what's next for you, your brand, your companies? Like, where are you going this year? What are you focusing on?
So, really, I went to a generational wealth mastermind. And one of the things is that, once you hit, everybody's born in obscurity. Nobody knows who you are. And that's, everybody gets out of that stage to, you feel a little comfort, you find out who you are.
Yeah.
But then when you get to this point where you're aware, right, of who you are, like that's a revelation. Like, I have some special gifts. I'm able to impact people and help people. But then you accept your gift and you say, you know what? I need to accept that here's the great qualities. This is going to impact other people's lives. And I want to be great as I can be. So like writing the books, putting my thoughts down in paper, partnering with more people, saying that, hey, I want to redefine wealth, that it's not just making money, but it's a social currency. There's health that can make you wealthy. There's, changing future generations. There's partnering. There's all these other aspects of life that we enjoy.
Yeah.
That I want to pursue those instead of just pursuing, a financial number or also, not trying to have a plan all the time, right? I'm comfortable and I love doing what I'm doing right now. So I want to attract the opportunities that can change the world.
That's
right?
so good.
So I have to be available. I have to free up my time, right? And that's the goal, is to do less this year, to free up my time where I can flow openly and go with intuitive intelligence and go through the things that feel right. Because if I was busy and I had a thing mapped out, I wouldn't be able to come here on a Friday because it's already planned out.
Yeah.
What my Friday was, right? So now I can have more opportunities in 2023 to just flow because everything is working, right? I subtracted a lot. So every Sunday I go through and I have a cut day, a cut hour. What can I cut out this week? What can I say no to? Right? That doesn't align with my
That's
mission.
so good. I like that. I'm going to steal that.
Right. No, I mean, you think about, you accumulate things over time and we start having so many things that we get obligated. It's like, what can I cut out?
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't serve my mission. Right. And I love trading. I love my mastermind. I have things. I love my family, love my wife. I love, watching on softball.
Yeah.
All these things I love. And it's like, well, what's interrupting that?
Right. And it's so cool because you're hitting a point now with that independence where you get to do that. And you get to sit down and say, hey, I'm going to get rid of these things. I want to focus more, make more room. And it's like, you always hear like every yes is a no and every no is a yes.
Right.
But the more things you say no to, you're actually creating more yeses in your life.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So good. Where can people connect with you at that they can find you on social media? How can they get plugged in with you if they're interested in DCG Mastermind? How do they connect to you?
I'm going to simplify this. Just search for Jamar James. If you want to schedule a call with me, it's jamarjames.io.
Boom.
That's it.
Just last, I just like to create some room for you as the guest. Is there just any last things on your heart that you want to share with the audience?
I say, we've been through, for some people, COVID was a great opportunity. Other people, they lost people. I think the time that you spend in 2023, make sure you do it with, people that aligns with your value and the social currency. My goal is to redefine wealth for the majority of people, right? And chasing a number is great, but you only have a limited amount of time, and we know that. So, the goal is to get around like-minded individuals, join communities, join masterminds, join people. With all the AI, artificial intelligence, with all the social media, with Instagram, the Facebook, people are becoming more disconnected, where there's a lot of value in real intelligence and real interaction with humans and partnering up. And there's so many ways to make money that don't let that be your focus solely, right? Have other missions that you can have. And, that is my mission with the masterminds, give them wealth, give them the tools, give them the resources, but also give them a experience that you can highlight in your life as you grow.
Yeah. Man, well, I just want to honor you, man, just for the man that you are, the way that you live your life. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Man, thank you for having me.
Let's go. And guys, as we wrap this up, I just want to encourage you guys to remember just what the show is all about. Independence doesn't happen overnight. Find out what your mission is, just like Jamar did. Go out and seek that mission and align your yeses and your nos with what's important to you in your life. And lastly, I'll just tell you guys that this show is a passion project. This show, I don't want anything from you. Jamar doesn't want anything from you. We're here to have a conversation, and I pray every time before the podcast that even one of your lives are changed or made better because of this content. The one thing that you can do that I would ask you is just share the show. Share the show with one person that you know will get value from it, and we'll see you next week. Go make today great.
Cody is great.